I'm Dave. Legacy automakers need EVs far more than Tesla and BYD, but just not at this moment in time. EVs are not for them today. Stick around while Dave takes on why the legacy auto industry, Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, BMW, VW, all the rest, are still aiming for 100% EV and need to get there, but just not today. Well, Legacy Auto has done a tremendous job. From a simple idea over 100 years ago, then the invention of mass production, the car makers have grown to absolutely dominate the world. But they've finally become the victim of their own success. In the early days, technological advances were rapid and dramatic. Early cars did around 15, 20 miles to the gallon. At first, they had a maximum legal speed limit, 12 miles an hour. Later, increased to 20. Well, advances came rapidly and dramatically. Closed roofs, comfortable seats, air conditioning, electronic ignition, power steering, followed by the invention of computers, and they added things like sat-nav, cruise control, driver assist, much, much more. But sometimes cataclysmic events create a paradigm shift in society, and our not-so-friendly virus in 2019 did that for us. First, societies and manufacturing just shut down totally, forcing many to rethink their lives. Many of them took early retirement. Others opened up their own business. Then many simply worked from home. A huge number still are to this day. All of these changed our car owning and driving habits. Once the daily commute and massive traffic was the only way, then it wasn't. Then came massive change, product shortages, wars, technical breakthrough, followed by society shifting to pay workers less and less, while at the same time having high inflation and high and ever rising prices for just about everything. Well, most people did not and still do not realise that the virus changed our society forever. And nowhere was that more apparent than in the auto industry. Cars suddenly became optional if you didn't have the daily commute into the office anymore. And with high inflation, our car loans became much more expensive and the cost of fuel rocketed. An American driver doing the average 13,000 miles or the UK driver doing 8,000 miles, fuel costs suddenly became a large part of their budget. In the UK, at £1.50 a litre, 40 mile a gallon, drivers are paying £1,350 a year, over £100 a month. Well, financially, Legacy Auto has always hovered on the brink of bankruptcy. Many companies have gone bust over the years. You've got Rolls-Royce, British Leyland, General Motors, Renault, Packard, DeLorean. It's a very, very long list. It was and it is a very competitive market, and profit margins were always and still are low. But production was high, meaning lean, efficient factories working flat out with low cost per unit. And to make up for the low prices they were forced to sell at, they turned to after sales. That meant servicing for profit for dealers and the factory in parts and labour, things like plugs, belts, filters. And out of warranty, the cars deteriorated and needed repairs. Head gaskets, timing belts, brake pads, discs, suspension cover. In fact, the most legacy auto makers make between 2 and 10% on the sale, but much more in after sales. But here technology began to work against them. With better machineries, the cars got better. No more running in please pass signs, but that meant engines lasted longer before failing. Warranties were also longer, now up 2, 3, sometimes 7 years. That also added significantly to the cost of the vehicle to the manufacturer. Unseen by many, we'd entered the perfect storm. Less mileage driven, greater efficiency, more warranty claims, reduced repair income, cheaper cars and finance, cars lasting much longer. And even when Legacy Auto got the first results back after the virus, they ignored them. Sales that had been repressed during the lockdowns did not bounce back as predicted and surged to new heights as production returned to normal. They even failed to reach pre-pandemic levels. And Legacy Auto did what their shareholders demanded. Well, just ignore the market, add a few more luxury goodies that didn't cost very much and we didn't need, and then put up the prices again. But inflation and already high prices for essentials like mortgages, rent, food, electricity meant their buyers had little money spare. Some, none at all. Well, viewers may note that at this point not a mention of EVs has been made. The harsh fact is that even without EVs, The industry was already hugely precariously balanced, all had historically low profits, and all had absolutely massive debts. Many had already failed and been bailed out long before EVs made an appearance. It seems the more successful a company, the larger the debts they have. Add in two final killers. With dropping demand, efficiency plummeted. It cost more per car to make less cars. Then add in union demands and labour costs simply rocketed. This had been on the cards for several decades and has always been pushed down the road to tackle another day. Now it was finally that day. Then the world's largest car market shut down. China went EV. Yeah, we now get to EVs. The Chinese government decided, for whatever reason, to go all in on EVs and gave simply huge incentives to car makers and buyers. China went EV and almost stopped buying petrol, diesel and hybrid cars altogether. First, with subsidies, EVs were cheaper, and second, with technology, they were much more modern. Almost a dead stop. 2024 will see nearly 50% of all new cars sold in China being EVs. And the West is not as good or as cheap at making EVs as the Chinese. The hardest hit were the prestige car makers, the real money makers for legacy auto, the Rolls-Royces, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Ford Mustang, Lincoln Continental, Chevrolets. And again, Legacy Auto's answer was to add even more goodies and put up prices even more so that when they did eventually sell a car, it was very profitable. But that meant that factory efficiency dropped further, and in some cases, they've dropped into a loss per car sold. Yeah, even for ICE cars. And that's only made up with after sales. Then that disappeared altogether as people took their cars to cheaper garages for servicing and used generic parts, not genuine manufacturer's parts. This is the best example of a perfect storm. Now, along comes Tesla and offers something totally new. Doesn't even matter if it's good or bad or it works. Doesn't matter if EVs only get 100-mile range. It is different. Hence, Tesla shot straight up to the top-selling car in the world and remains there. The sad fact is Legacy Auto have either not spotted the seriousness of this or have already seen it and have absolutely no answer to it. The first attempts were a dismal failure. First, they didn't sell in any significant number. That was a fact that many at board level saw as a huge success. Well, EVs haven't taken away business from their core customers. Didn't matter that they'd lost them anyway. They'd actually just gone over to other brands of EVs. 10% of them worldwide just went EVs. So now add in that 10% drop due to EVs plus the 10-20% market drop following the virus and inflation, and you have an industry that no longer has the same customer base it had just a few years previously. Global sales are well down this year, nearly everywhere, but China and Tesla have shown there is a massive market for new EVs. Then add in that Tesla is actually making a very healthy profit per car, showing the Legacy Auto what they could be doing, and add in further weakening blows like you have fewer factory and dealer recalls, and most of those are just over-the-air updates. They're instant and cost bugger all. The final knockout killer blow is that Tesla is seemingly just about to launch FSD, full self-drive, on the world. Now, whether or not they do, doesn't matter, absolutely irrelevant, because if they don't, sooner or later, someone else will. When that happens, millions of cars around the world will be queuing up to pay thousands of pounds as a one-off fee or 100 or so as a monthly fee to get it. Imagine, you've sold millions of cars and say 5 million of them can actually buy FSD and you make 80% profit on its software. If only 10% of those do buy it at $99 a month, that's 500,000 cars paying $50 million a month, or nearly $500 million pure profit a year from cars they'd already sold years before. $500 million. That is the future business that Legacy Auto wants and needs to get into, but their early attempts failed dismally and continue to be dismal to this day. Tesla sold 1.8 million, Ford 72,000, GM 75, Hyundai 280, VW under 400,000, but actually falling rapidly. VW passenger ICE car sales dropped over 5% in Q1 this year, while their EV sales dropped almost 4%. Ford's just about given up at the moment, and GM they've got one or two promising models at the moment, but they're not hitting the numbers needed to get them up into that mass market of peak efficiency where the costs drop. In other words, they are still all making a loss on each car sold. So ICE car sales are declining. Global passenger car sales are well below pre-pandemic levels and barely holding their own. Yeah, some might peak momentarily as they offer bigger, better incentives and lower rate finance deals, but all of that eats into their already slim profits and rising debts. Their costs beginning to rocket as they sell less and less new cars from factories, working almost now at go-slow rates. Hence all the layoffs and shift reductions and temporary closures or cancellation of new factories. Then as they continue to cut costs to try to make higher profits, their warranty claims will increase, wiping out any small profits they made. There is only so long that can continue. Legacy EV sales failed miserably and are showing no signs of picking up, even when they offer huge discounts. Only one manufacturer makes a profit. Ford's losing about $120,000 per car sold. General Motors refuses to give details, but it loses money. Now, the pure business answer to this, to all their problems, has to totally ignore what their customers' perceived wishes. They need a total switch to mass-produced, cheap, high-tech EVs. The warranty costs will drop in the short term, servicing profits drop away to almost zero, but the potential for profitable over-the-air add-ons for after-sales vehicles will dwarf all of these. Add YouTube or Apple Play for a monthly fee, add extra range or performance, a single over-the-air update, get paid every month, activate LED matrix lights for a few pound a month. The after-sales market for EVs is the holy grail. It's a massive market that cannot work with ICE cars. They can't do it. Someone who bought their EV a few years ago is happy with it, gets a pay rise and can afford a better car, better range or better performance, better features. They once had to trade in, losing thousands, then buy a new one costing thousands. Now they can just add longer range or much better performance or extra features for just a few pound a month, dollars or euros. Well, thanks very much for watching. Once again, if you haven't, then please subscribe. We're heading towards 10,000 subscribers and we do need a push. Subscribing costs nothing, but it tells YouTube that many people want to watch our content and so puts our content in front of new audiences so we grow. We are so grateful to our Patreon members who make these videos possible. We're now working even harder to get out and meet our members, and we will be keeping our members in touch with where and when we are going when we go out on our filming trips. See, unfortunately, while a mass meet and viewers is great, it's hugely disrupting and time-consuming to filming, meeting, etc. But just meeting a few members while we're filming actually isn't. So have patience, everyone. We will get to your area soon. Thanks for your contribution. I'm Dave.